Hello there. Good evening, everybody. If you could find a seat, we'll get things started. Thank you so much for being here tonight. "2023 was a year of infrastructure improvements to keep pace with current development activity in and around Marysville, and it all starts with city finances. The city's 2023 general fund year-end revenues and expenditures met or exceeded expectations. 2023 general fund revenues totaled over $32 million, an increase of 4% compared to 2022. This is attributed primarily to an increase in investment earnings and permit fee collections. Income tax revenues continue to be the major source of revenue for the general fund, accounting for 76% of total revenue. 2023 general fund expenditures totaled over $34 million, 16% more than 2022 fiscal year. This increase in expenditures is primarily attributed to the city's increase in transfers to the Capital Improvement Fund and Police, Fire, and Court Fund. Police and fire continue to be the largest expense supported by the general fund. Transfers to the Police, Fire, and Court Fund accounted for 38% of the general fund expenditures, and the capital improvement transfers coming in second at 27%. Therefore, 66% of all general fund expenditures are spent in these two areas. In September, a delegation of representatives from the City of Marysville and Union County conducted a business and goodwill trip to Japan. The delegation visited 7 companies, including Honda's world headquarters, Moriyuku, and Sumitomo. We also participated in the Midwest U.S.-Japan Association Annual Conference to discuss economic development and regional cooperation. Additionally, we visited the City of Marysville Friendship City, Yoree, to deepen our cultural ties and celebrate our 10-year friendship anniversary. Also, Marysville families hosted 10 students and 3 chaperones from Yoree as a part of our exchange program. During their visit, the group learned about local government, attended classes at Bunsold Middle School, enjoyed a party at our municipal pool, and much more.
Thank you for having us.
A couple of key capital improvement projects that took place include: the city's first single-lane roundabout was constructed at the intersection of State Route 31 and Creekview Drive. The roundabout provides a safer, more efficient traffic flow through this intersection. The Reservoir Connector Bridge spans Mill Creek to provide pedestrian connectivity between the Jim Simmons Trail and the Marysville Upground Reservoir. The city's new water treatment plant opened in late January. This facility replaces the original water plant built in the 1890s. The new water plant nearly doubles the city's water capacity to handle the growth within our community. As we close the books on 2023, we look forward to a prosperous 2024. Good evening, everybody. My name's Terry Emery, and I'm the city manager for Marysville. And it's an honor to be with you tonight to kind of go over not only what occurred in 2023, but to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going to happen this year and even beyond. It's really an exciting time. And here in a few minutes, I'm going to bring up our city council, which is just been, I've said it to them a couple times, the first 3 months of this year has been like drinking out of a fire hose. It's been very busy. So, but what I wanted to start with real quick, I just got a message from Diane Allen, the superintendent of Marysville Schools, and she obviously can't be here tonight. She just had surgery, but I wanted to thank her for at least sending me a message. And she's just been awesome to work with over the last several weeks and beyond. And I'm looking forward to working with Diane into the future. I know I'm not going to name everybody tonight, but I'm going to name groups. We've got school board representatives here tonight. Thank you for being here. We've got the county commissioners represented tonight. We've got Jerome Township here represented. I think I saw Barry Adler walk in. Yep. And we have other entities and other people, but one person I did want to point out a little bit tonight is Tracy Richardson. Tracy, has been a real good representative for our community. You know, she was on city council, and she also obviously is our state representative. And let me just give you an idea of what she's done for Marysville. Between her years on city council and time as our state rep, she has helped the city secure nearly $10 million in funding for projects. This includes $4 million for the first 2 phases of State Route 31 improvements. We're going to talk about the 3rd phase tonight. Close to $1 million, assuming we'll get funding, which I'm pretty confident we will, for the Reservoir Connector Trail project, and $5 million on various other projects throughout the city during her time on council. Tracy, let's give her some thanks. Okay, the state of the city obviously is a responsibility of the city manager to give on an annual basis. So I am doing my obligation here, and I really enjoy it. There's a couple things I just wanted to remind you of. You know, years ago, they used to read just from a document the state of the city at a council meeting, and so we shifted in 2016 to a more interactive state of the city. And 2016 and 2017, we did that. But then starting in 2018, we took the state of the city on the road. And we started at the Marysville STEM School in 2018. In 2019, then we had our State of the City at Scott's. All entities that impact our community in such a big way. In 2020 and in 2021, we had to go virtual because of the pandemic. And then in 2022, We were very fortunate to be able to open up the Avalon, and we had the State of the City there. And then in 2023, we were back again last year at Marysville High School. Of course, this year, we're very fortunate to have it in this facility. And, I'd have Bruce Daniels come up here, but if I start talking to Bruce up here, Bruce and I keep talking, and we'll talk for an awful long time, and we'll take this State of the City over. But there's no person that impacts our community as an individual, privately, that has done the things that Bruce Daniels has done. So, and he never says no. And someday, Bruce, you're okay if you do say no sometime. Okay, we're at the point in time. What we're going to do tonight is a work session for City Council. So I'm going to have City Council come up to the stage. They're really excited about this, you guys. I think they're really. I'm going to have them come up to the stage. I've got a few questions for each of them. But they're going to first open their meeting up because this is a work session. So they'll probably ask for, an opening of the meeting. So can you guys come on up, please? While they're coming up, I wanted to recognize the clerk of council, which is Mackenzie Proudfoot, and she does an enormous amount of work for City Council. And Mackenzie's right here at their table. Come on in, you guys. Did you have assigned seats or anything? Donald, why don't you come over here next to me? I got to watch you closely here, so. This is, I'm finding really quickly, this is a fantastic group, you guys. Multiple talents on this stage, and I'm going to dig into some of those talents here in a few minutes. You want to call the meeting to order?
Yeah. So we're going to call the meeting to order. So roll call for the, what's the date today? March 4th.
March 4th.
Work session. You make the motion? Mark? No. Okay, we're all here.
Awesome.
Here. That's good.
Okay, the work session is beginning right now. So I'm going to go across the line here, guys, and I may shift a little bit, but I'm going to ask you some questions. The first question I'm going to ask each of you, and I'll start with Donald, is, Donald, first, tell everybody a little bit about yourself quickly, and then I'll get into another question that we can do.
I'm going to do this very quickly, I think. So for some of you who might not know, I actually was not born in Marysville. I was actually born in Houston, Texas. And then I moved up here. Marysville has always been a community that I thought had so much potential. And the residents here expect so much from us. And so years ago, from the people within the realms of City Hall always knew me. And I decided that when I was in college, some people, when I was in school, I always knew what I wanted to do. I just never realized there was a degree out there for me. So I got my degree in regional city planning with a minor in public administration. I came back. Terry wouldn't hire me. So I said that, I said, fine, I'll just run for public office. And that's kind of, how it is. My family owns a business here. I live not very far from here. So, but other than that, I love this community and I love what I do. And my greatest honor is being able to speak to all my constituents, even in off elections. So thank you.
Good one. I've got another question for you. Talk to us about, and you've got to keep on a number here. Talk to us about some priorities that you'd like to focus on and see happen in Marysville during your time.
So my priorities have always been and always will be, as a community, we all understand it's going to grow. But my heartburn is that I don't want to see what we like about Marysville lost. And we, as a community, have to protect, and the Ward 4, which is the majority of the uptown area, Scott Farms, Quail Hollow, Elwood, and everything towards the north is in my area, territory. It is valuing what our residents like, how to protect open space, historical preservation, small business owners. And so my priorities have always been, anybody can build a city, guys. It's very easy. The hardest part is building community, and how is Marysville going to grow, but also have a sense of community. And that has always been my push. So building parks, advocating for preservation, advocating for walkability, unique housing stock to bring people together is what I really focus on.
Awesome. Donald is the president of council and has really taken on some things early on here in his time as president that, like I say before, the first 2.5 months of this year have been just incredible. So thank you, Donald, for what you do. How about an applause for Donald, you guys? Okay, I'm going to shift to Hank Burby. And Hank, of course, there's a couple council members on here still that were a part of council when I was hired. And Hank is one of them. I think, Hank, 14 years? 14 years. So Hank has been on city council. He's the vice president of city council. And Hank, tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Well, first of all, Donald, it's nice to see you have your fan club sitting right there. Always so good to see you. And as you probably hear on my accent, I also was not born in Marysville. Yeah, but we had a family business, good Catholic family. We had 11 children, mom and dad did. And by the time that I got old enough, I had an opportunity to do an internship over in upstate New York. And I really fell in love with the United States at the time. I was just 20 years old, and just the freedom that we had and all the different opportunities. I asked my dad when I came back, what can I do? And he said, well, there is a sales position available, and that did include the state of Ohio. So in 72, I started to do sales, and very quickly I found out that we would be more successful if we had a warehouse. And at that time, Ohio was #1 horticultural state in the nation. So we had a good customer base, and we decided that we wanted to be close to Columbus. So I looked all the way around Columbus, went to Newark, Lancaster, and somehow or another I came out here, and I still remember it so well. I parked on West 5th Street, walked into the Cook Real Estate office and met Don out there. And he said, there is a chicken farm that's no longer in business, and they're renting out their space to Owen Thorpe for automobiles. And I went out there, met with the proprietor, and we really did very well in working together. He was our manager for the first 10 years. And then as the business grew, in 1982, I decided to bring my family over here. And it's been just a labor of love. And it's kind of ironic that happened when I was 25 years old. Yeah, that's been 50 years. So I've had one term growing up in the Netherlands, one term or one period, if you will, when you're into sports, one period growing up, and then 2 periods living here in Marysville. This year I'm going to be 75, and I'm going into the 4th period, and I definitely look forward to it. So,
awesome, Hank. Thank you. A nice applause for Hank and his commitment and his business's commitment to the community. Hank, quickly as we can tonight, because we're going to go across the board here to council. This is a tough question, but what financial challenges do you foresee for Marysville in the near future?
Thank you. Yeah, of the 14 years that I've been on council, 12 have been on the as chairman of the finance committee, and then 2 years as mayor. And you continue to see what people, the community would like to continue and would like to add on to it. Yeah, but of course, as any economics teacher will tell you, that somebody has to pay for it. And as you could see today on how our money is coming in, the couple things that we continue to push on is paving. When I started, we had 73 miles of roadway to maintain. Currently, that's 107 miles. So you could see how important it is. That's only in the city of Marysville. So you could see how important it is for us to have a good paving program. And then continuously, the safety service that we need to provide to our community, those are all very important aspects. Difficulties, I know that we have a very good enterprise. The city is divided between the general fund and then the enterprise, which is the water, sewer, and everything else that we have in enterprise. Those are all very solid at this point, and it all depends on what the community wants to do. The only main concern that I do have, and that is, and it may seem strange to some people, but if you look at the 2010 census, we only had about 2,200 people 65 and over. I was one of those. Okay, when we looked at the 2020, that number had increased to about 4,000. Yeah, so one thing that we do need to continue to look at, how can we keep it affordable for people in that age group? But then in addition to that, when you looked at the number of safety runs that the fire department made, 80% of those are going to the people that are 65 and over. And that is one concern maybe that we do have. That is, you'll see the numbers continuously increase as far as the number of runs that we need to make. And that's one thing that we need to make sure that we keep an eye out on. How can we make it affordable or keep it affordable for people 65 and over?
Thank you, Hank. Another applause? Okay, I'm going to shift down at the other end of the row here and go to J.R. Roush. J.R., tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a fourth generation Marysvillian. How about that? My grandfather left the family farm out in Chuckery and moved into Marysville. He worked for Scott's, was an inventor, invented the Doc-O-Matic, which was the seed dropping into the bag and then being sewed and then conveyor belted off. And I think it was in use at one of the factories until in the 1990s. We've been here ever since then. My dad graduated from Marysville in 1961. I graduated from Marysville in 1982. And both of my children graduated. Don't ask me, I forget when they graduated. Got two grandchildren, 8 and 5, so chased them around quite a bit. My wife was a school teacher for 35 years, about 28 years of that here in Marysville. I was an insurance agent in Marysville for quite a while, and during that time I also had some other sidelights. For 8 years I was the voice of the Monarchs on 1270 WUCO. Then for 8 years I was the assistant varsity basketball coach, starting with Coach Chafin and ending with Coach Gross. And now for the last 12 years I've been on city council.
Good stuff. How about an applause for JR? How many years have you been on council?
12.
12
This is the start of the 13th.
You came in right after I started.
Right after you were hired.
Yep. JR, as a lifelong resident, what excites you most about Marysville and what's happening?
This place. Let's go back to 1982. We had McDonald's came in, I think in 79 or 80. I was in high school when it came in, and we had the Pizza Hut. So for Friday and Saturday night, we drove in a circle back and forth. We had Hermes Home Restaurant. Yeah, he was a relative of mine. We had Dinner Bell was closed by that time. Borden was open, which then became Herschel. The Dairy Queen had been there, the Coopers, thank goodness for them. But yeah, that was basically the extent of what you had to eat in the city of Marysville. Look at it today. The number of options. Benny's was here, but it was takeout only. They'd taken over the root beer stand. look at what they have now for the back patio, this place for entertainment. And you know, when I was in school, if you didn't have the ability to go to college, you stayed in Marysville. But if you had the ability to go to college, you left. And most of the people in my class didn't want to come back until they had kids and they realized what a great place it was. But there wasn't anything to do for that 20 to 30-year-old person that wasn't married. And if you look at Marysville now and the amount of entertainment, restaurants, bars, things to do, you didn't want to go in the bars we had previously. You know, Jack's Midtown Bar might be a nostalgia place for Aaron and I, but you didn't like the smell in there. But the places that we have to offer, the opportunities for our residents, the park system that we have, you know, we just continue to improve the quality of life for our residents.
Thank you, JR. Thank you very much. Okay, if you could hand that mic over to Mark Reams. Mark Reams is really, might not be able to tell, but he's the elder statesman of this group. 25 years? 26 years on city council. So 26 years. Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in Kansas, went to school at Kansas State University and then Texas Tech University. Moved to Marysville when I took a job at Honda. So I was a young engineer and looking for a place to live for me and the family. And I thought, well, you know, I'd been to Marysville a few times and I liked it. Let's rent an apartment and see if we like it, you know, and if we do, you know, I think we'd like to stay. So we rented an apartment, and I think within 6 months we decided we were staying. So, you know, we bought our first home and have been here ever since. Raised my 2 boys here, and, you know, I've really loved it.
Awesome. Little applause for Mark. Kansas State. Mark and I talk quite often about Kansas State and football and basketball and stuff like that. Mark, you've been very involved in creating the city's utility enterprise system. What are some of the benefits of our current structure of that system?
You know, I don't know that I created them, but at least not to start with. When I first came on council, the city had recently bought the water and wastewater systems from a private company. And since then, we've added a couple more enterprise funds for stormwater and I believe the sanitation, the trash. You know, really the benefit is we manage those entities ourselves. There's no profit in these entities. We go for a balanced budget. There's no, you know, $1 million CEO that we have to pay. There's no stockholders that are, you know, getting profits. You know, we're keeping our costs as low as we can and serving the needs that we have in Marysville. So, you know, to me, the biggest benefit is, you know, we can focus on the community and providing the needs that we have here at the lowest possible cost. And I think I kind of somehow became the enterprise person when years and years ago we had to build the new sewer plant, the new wastewater facility, and the proposed funding and the rate increases were something that were more than what I was really comfortable with. So, you know, I started looking at some alternatives in terms of how we could restructure the rates, and I bounced some ideas off one of our other city council members, which was Dave Burke at the time. And then he and I continued to work on this. And then one night, I think we spent 5 hours in front of an Excel spreadsheet working out different scenarios. and finally settled on something, that we could get our rates down as low as we could, but still afford to build the wastewater facility that we had to build. We really had no choice. So I think I kind of just became the person who was involved in that.
You could probably talk for another hour or two on that topic.
Oh, that'd be
But-
great. Who would like to hear more about our rate structure? I don't see a lot of hands going up.
No, I don't think you'll see those go up. I will say this, as frustrating as our utility rates may have been over the years, we don't foresee any need to raise our rates, even in the near future, and we have no thoughts of our rates adjusting. So what's ultimately happening right now is other communities' rates are raising, and Marysville's rates are holding. And I would say in about another 5 to 8 years, our rates are going to be as competitive as anybody's out there, especially in the Central Ohio region. So thanks, Mark. Thanks for your work. How about an applause for Mark Reams? Okay, hand it over to Stephen. Now we're gonna talk to our newest council members. As I've said before, you guys have been fabulous, and I think it was within a couple days after the election that we met and decided we had to take them through an orientation process to educate them as much as possible. And I don't think any of us anticipated the level of detail, but they've absorbed it well and taken it on head on. And I couldn't compliment them any more than I'm just very, very impressed. So Stephen, let's start out. What was your reason for running for city council?
Yeah, well, I would say probably the biggest reason for me for running was there were a lot of residents in Ward 1 that I'd spoke with, and over time saw their conversations on social media with me and family and friends that I had in the area, that they were just looking for a change, looking for council as a whole to kind of communicate more with residents and speak to different issues that are going on in our city. And as Donald brought up, the city's growing and going to continue to grow, and finding ways to help that growth benefit everyone and grow in a way that people feel comfortable to a good degree on what's happening and why that growth's occurring and where it's occurring and how we structure that.
And Stephen's in Ward 1. Stephen, since becoming a council member, what's something you've learned or something that has even surprised you about the city?
So, as a lifelong resident, I've been in Marysville since 1999 when I was born. And I don't know if this is necessarily a surprise, but something that kind of came to my attention more as, now that I'm on the Parks and Recreation Commission, but just the quality of our park system and how we're continually improving that, and there's always work to do. Yesterday, I took my dog to the Bark Park on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and just seeing, all the people that are coming out there, seeing the different kind of parks we have, the BMX park, just the changes that have happened since I was born in the early 2000s, and where we're at now, and the places we continue to go with the Scott Family Park, and how we're continually improving and growing our park system.
Stephen, you were a football player, weren't you?
I was, yes. I played 4 years here at Marysville, graduated, and went down to Davidson College in North Carolina and played 4 years there. So it's always fun talking about football.
What position?
Defensive line.
Okay, awesome. How about a hand for Stephen Wolf? Okay, hand it over to Zach. Zach Bordner.
I'm going to stop you right there for just a second, Terry.
Uh-oh.
All right, steal the show for a moment.
You got it.
There's a few people that I want to recognize this evening. The folks that, molded me into the man that I am today. I wouldn't be here without them. And they continue to support me. And I want to recognize my mom and dad. They're here this evening. On their anniversary, they came to support their crazy son. to do the things that he's doing. And guys, I love you so much. Thanks for being here to support me. And also my beautiful wife, Stacy, and my two boys, Camden and Owen. If you just wave. Talk about somebody who's been behind me in my corner from day one. She's always supported me through all the crazy things that I've done. The most recent running for local government. So appreciate everything that you do for myself and the family. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for adding that. That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. What made you decide to run for city council?
I'm not going to get into the whole backstory as to why. So I'll just sum it up with I've got two kids, 8 and 6, and I've said it from the beginning that the decisions that we make today impact their tomorrow, and they're the reason why I get up in the morning, do the things that I do. They're the reason why I ran for local government, and I'm convinced that if I make decisions that are right by them, I'll be able to sleep at night. So
Awesome.
that's why.
Great answer. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. That's fantastic. You're going to hear some repetition here. So since becoming a council member, what's something you've learned or something that has even surprised you about the city?
I think that what I've learned or what's surprised me is how complex our budget is. And I was given the opportunity through President Borger. He assigned me to the finance committee. It's very complex. I'm still learning and digesting Hank, you know how many pages I'm certain of it that are in the folder that you gave me. But I think that's what surprised me the most is just the funding and how everything kind of goes in and what's included in our overall budget. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you again. How about another round of applause for Zach? Okay, Scott, did we save the best for last?
Sure.
Okay, you kind of know the routine here. You've been lucky. So what was your reason for running for Marysville City Council? You were on Planning Commission.
Yeah, I was. Good evening, everyone. First, kind of similar to what Zach said, I have 3 children. My all is in their future. I want to see opportunity for my children. I want to see them be able to thrive, have opportunity in their adult lives. Secondly, I would just say my peers and then my elders, I want to see opportunity for a high quality of life. And I believe that we have opportunity to do that here in Marysville and generally in the Central Ohio region. And I want to be a part of that. And then if you kind of rewind a bit, you mentioned I was on Planning Commission. I have been serving for 2 years. I ran for council in 21. And going back a few years, our country was in chaos. We had people setting buildings on fire, all sorts of protests. And I thought that more than ever, we need people in leadership who are able to look at what's going on, make good decisions, take into account people with varying viewpoints, and talk with a sense of civility to come to sound decisions. And ultimately, that's what drove me to run for office. I like to think that I could do a good job at making good decisions. I say that with a great sense of humility, but ultimately, that was part of it. I had a passing of a loved one in 2020, and it was a reminder that tomorrow is never promised, and it's never promised for any of us. The next hour is not promised. So if you have, things that you want to seek out in your life, that you shouldn't wait until your children are grown up. You shouldn't wait until you're in retirement mode, because those days are never promised to us. And ultimately, I made a conscious decision to try and get involved, and ended up on Planning Commission. And then from Planning Commission onward, it's been a continuous learning process that I've enjoyed, and I've wanted to get involved to a higher degree, have more decision-making power, and so on and so forth. So
What a great decision. Good decision. A hand for Scott. Scott, since becoming a council member, what's something you've learned or something that has even surprised you about the city?
Yeah, I would say despite the binding nature of decisions that were made in the past, maybe they were bad decisions, maybe they were decisions that had to be made, despite the binding nature, we still have opportunity to shape maybe some of the things that had already been decided in the past. But more so, we have opportunity to shape the future by decisions we're making on new things. So I would say more than ever, that's been escalated to the forefront of my mind. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thanks for giving the community a chance to meet each of you tonight during the State of the City. You know, just so everybody knows, in the way our structure works in the city manager form of government, these are my 7 bosses. And so what they set forth legislatively, I carry out as a city manager. And I couldn't ask for better people. I've been very fortunate to have people like Tracy Richardson on city council and others that have been very good. But I think there's some real strength here in city council today. There may be some interest if you look at our city council, a little more diversity, you guys, down the road, maybe something to think about. But other than that, thank you, all of you, for what you do for our city. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, as they make their way off the stage, I'm gonna stay right here. I'm gonna ask Kyle Hoying, our city engineer, to come up and join me for a few comments and discussions on projects. Kyle, let's sit here in the middle so we're a little more. You need a water?
No, I'm good.
Okay, you're good. Kyle, why don't we do this? City engineer, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, where you've been, what you've done, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town called Coldwater, Ohio. Went to Ohio State University in civil engineering. Graduated there, stuck around in Columbus, married my wife. We've got 2 boys. They're 9 and 12. So live in Hilliard right now. Started out working in the private development, kind of doing site design work. And then ironically, you talked about the water treatment plant project. I was working for a company who Marysville hired to do the water treatment plant, and I was asked to kind of look into the site design of Marysville's water treatment plant. That's how I kind of stumbled across the position, applied for it, and then kind of been here for the most part for the last almost 7-8 years now.
Let's see, you were in Upper Arlington. Is that where we got you?
I was for about 18 months, yeah.
What interested you about Marysville?
I think it's just the people. I know everyone who's here today and everyone on council mentioned it. The people and like just the collaboration between the county, the townships, the schools, the people inside that work for Marysville. It's just a great place to work.
I'll do the same to you that I did with Stephen a little bit. You were a quarterback in football?
A long time ago, yeah.
At Coldwater?
Coldwater, right.
If you follow high school football, you guys, Coldwater football is really, really good. So we have a few conversations on
just
sports
a little bit
from time to time. Okay, Kyle, let's get into a couple projects that we got coming up. The big one this year, and we talked about 31 Phase 1 and Phase 2 and some of the costs associated with that. This is 31 Phase 3. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what's going to take place this year?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, if this is Phase 3, so there's been Phases 1 and 2. I know we don't have to remind residents in Mill Valley, but this process has been going on for about 10 years now. Phase 1 and Phase 2 are more widening projects. Phase 3 is also a widening project, but there's other components. So I'll kind of try to explain it as best as I can. So if you're traveling from like Mill Valley or 33 and coming towards the high school, right now there's 2 lanes that kind of merge into one. Well, we're going to change that. We're going to widen the southbound lane to 2 full lanes all the way down to Amrine Mill Road. So it's going to increase capacity and it's going to kind of decrease that congestion that we have right now. Flip it over to the northbound lane. Still only going to be 1 northbound lane, but we're going to add a center 2-way left turn lane is what they call it. So if you want to make a left turn into some of the driveways or businesses along North Maple Street, you can kind of get over to get into that center lane and make it a lot safer. A second component and one that I think maybe I'm most excited about is the pedestrian connectivity and the pedestrian facilities that we're adding to this project. On the west side of the road, so the school side, we're going to add a 10-foot wide shared use path. On the east side, we're gonna add a 5-foot concrete sidewalk. But then just south of Taylor Avenue, we're gonna add a pedestrian refuge island with a pedestrian light. So it's gonna give students a safe crossing there. Ironically, when I was driving into work today, I crossed a student who was just walking across the road at that intersection, ironically. But once this project's built, they're gonna have a safe way to kind of cross that intersection. When it's all said and done, I checked it before I came over. From Cooks Boulevard all the way down to the school, we'll have over a mile of connectivity and shared use paths over the 33 bridge. So it's really awesome what we're adding pedestrian connectivity wise.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about when we can expect the project to start, how long it might last, and whether you're going to be able to maintain traffic during the course of the project and things like that?
Yeah, so we recently awarded the contract to a contractor, and they're ready to get going. We think we're going to probably start it sometime around middle of March, either the second or third week of March. So they'll start middle to end of March. The first phase, they're going to look at widening the west side of the road, so the school side. The nice thing about a widening project is they can widen the road and still maintain two-way traffic in each direction. So yes, there's going to be barrels out and there's going to be construction activity, but two-way construction or two-way traffic should be able to get maintained for the majority of the project.
And how long do you think it might last?
It's going to last the whole season. So right now, the tentative schedule is to wrap everything up sometime in November, hopefully before Thanksgiving.
Have you told the schools about this yet?
The schools are well aware. We have continuous meetings with their operations manager, and they're aware of it, and we're working closely with them.
Awesome. Thanks for updating us on that. Let's go to is the next one the Reservoir Connector Bridge, Phase 2? Yes. Reservoir Connector Bridge, Phase 2. Now, Phase 1 is the one that Tracy helped us get some funds for. It's if you guys get out and walk the Jim Simmons Trail and have a chance to get out there where the bridge is, the Reservoir or Connector Bridge, it's just fantastic. And how are we going to connect to the reservoir then, Kyle?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the first phase included the bridge over Mill Creek, and then we have about a half a mile of path on our water treatment plant site that kind of goes around the perimeter out to Raymond Road. Right now it stops there. So phase 2 will include a pedestrian signal to safely cross Raymond Road, and then there'll be a path that leads you over to the reservoir, and we're going to construct some concrete steps up to the top of the reservoir. So we'll have a continuous path from the Jim Simmons Trail all the way up to the Reservoir Connector Trail.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, when might that start? Do we have a general idea?
So the plans are ready to go. We can probably start construction soon. However, as you mentioned, we are looking to get funding for the phase 2 construction. We're feeling pretty confident that we will get funding for that construction. And once we do, we'll be able to kind of start construction. It will happen this year.
Okay. Fantastic. That's another good one to know about. Now I'm going to go down to one that is just probably making people wonder. 5 Points. Talk to us about 5 Points. What's the plan on 5 Points? What can they expect over the next couple years? And all that good stuff.
Yeah, so right now we are in the design phase of the 5 Points roundabout. I'll take a step back, and in 2022 we went through kind of a big study to evaluate 4 or 5 different alternatives for that intersection. Got a lot of public feedback, really good feedback from the public, and the 5-legged roundabout was the preferred alternative from the public, our consultant, and staff. So we've moved forward into design. We're going to wrap up design of that project this year. You may see some utility companies out and about this year, and that's just utility relocation that has to take place prior to are construction occurring. So we'll do some utility relocation towards the end of this year, and then more than likely most of next year. So it'll be construction, but it won't be the actual roundabout, just utility relocation. And then in 2026, the plan is to construct that roundabout. Right now, from talking to our consultant, we think it's going to be about a 3-month schedule to knock that roundabout out. And I know it's going to be difficult during construction, but 3 months is a pretty tight schedule.
Good stuff. Good stuff going on. Anything else we need to know about?
I can't think of anything. Talking about roundabouts, I know we do have on the schedule in 2025 the Industrial Parkway and Coleman's Crossing roundabout.
Yep.
We will see some utility relocation work this year for that. So if residents see some activity out there, it's just utility relocation work. We're going to build the roundabout next year.
Just explain to people, though, like about a year or so ago, we put a signal up there. Talk to them about why we did that in the short term and what will happen with that equipment once we put the roundabout in and all good stuff like that.
Yeah, so we knew we had to make some improvements to that intersection, and we were throwing out ideas. Should we do a signal? Should we do a roundabout? We decided to do a roundabout. However, we knew a signal was probably warranted at the time, so that's why we went up and constructed a temporary signal with just wood poles, a strand wire, and a signal. We can reuse all the signal heads for future signals if we need them, or we can just have them as replacement heads. So that's why we went ahead and did the temporary signal, or the temporary construction of the signal a couple years ago.
Thanks for sharing that. Okay, I think I can wrap it up with you right now. And while Kyle is leaving and heading back down, this is an example of the staff we have in the city, and we have a lot of them here tonight, and I'm not going to begin to name them, although I will name one. Our fire chief, Nate Burns, just became fire chief somewhat in the last few months. And I'd really love to give Nate an applause for becoming the fire chief. And Nate, thanks for saving Benny's the other day. So thank you very much. So, our executive staff, and many of them are here, are just top notch. And I've been fortunate over my career to have worked in some communities like Gahanna, like Greenville, Ohio, I worked in. And I've never had a staff that's like the staff I have here. They're off the charts. And we're very fortunate to have the people that we have. We kind of operate what I would call lean and mean. And in a lot of respects, if you got a chance to interact with many of our staff, you would see that real quick, how professional they are and the type of work they do. And before I close the State of the City tonight, I wanted to thank Anna Kratauskas. She produces the State of the City. So Anna, thank you. We've got a lot to look forward to in 2024, 2025, 2026. A lot of things to work on. You guys know it. You hear it and you read about it. We have to manage the prosperity that is coming our way. And I can assure you that this city council is going to make sure that we follow a course that is smart in the prosperity for this community. And with that, I'll close the State of the City. Thank you.